There are people who choose a path with no map, following something deeper than a plan, the pull towards aliveness. They walk with purpose on their step, delusionally committed towards the life only they could have built. I am Syra, and for years I've been having those conversations in private. Consciousness, love, death, spirituality, business artistry, and altered states of consciousness. The kinds of conversations that stay with you, that reorder things within you. This is me finally opening the door. Follow me into the unknown. Hello, welcome to another episode of The Unknown Podcast. I am Syra, your host, and today we have a very special guest, Amanda Joy, a dear friend of mine, one of my mentees, and an incredible entrepreneur, artist, philanthropist, thought leader, and event producer. She's also a somatic coach. And I just adore this human, and I want you to get to know her because she's one of the gems that I treasure in my life, and she's such a gift to the world. So today I'm sharing her with all of you. Amanda, thank you so much for saying yes to this invitation. I would love to get to know you more through this conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Syra. It's so good to be with you here on this podcast. I am so grateful I know you and that we've connected over the years. And I'm learning so much through your program, and I just want to thank you so much for that.
Thank you
Yeah.
for being so open and for showing up and for all the work that you're doing and for committing to your purpose, because this is why we're here. The people I like to invite to this space are people that have committed to their mission and to serving from their highest gifts. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
Who am I? Thank you. I believe that I am a daughter of the Most High who is here to serve as a vessel of love to help regulate those who maybe feel deregulated in their nervous system, to choose love over fear. And I believe that the bridge is courage. And through that bridge, we can connect deeply to our subconscious and consciously become aware of the present moment to choose our highest self. And yeah, that's what I feel called to be, is to be a somatic coach, to support others, give them platforms to speak on stages, at events, to help guide them through their mission and remove any blockages that they have to fully come to their highest self and to express their art, their creativity, their mission.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
I mean, with a mission like that, I can only imagine that there was maybe a turning point in your life where you decided to commit to this mission, or where the mission found you. Is there something like that in your story that you would like to share with us?
Oh my gosh, I feel like this topic interweaves in so many areas of my life to become who I am today, and to even have the awareness of this mission has come in so many stages of my life. Where should I begin? I feel that it started for me through somatic therapy, through somatic art, and I didn't even know what that was at the time. But I'd like to bring it back to the sacred plant medicine of henna, mehendi. This was introduced in my life when I was resettling refugees through the Domestic Peace Corps, and this family had this art, this plant, and I remember witnessing and noticing them adorning each other. And I was like, whoa, I feel like I've done this in a past life. Have you ever had those moments where memories really sink deeper in, where you become so present that you're not even familiar where these memories come from? Well, I had asked one of these refugees if I could take a henna cone home and learn and practice. And they're like, this will teach you. I was like, okay, I don't understand it. So I bring it home, and I remember in my head, I was like, I'm an artist. I can do this. This will be easy. So I start doing the art on myself. And right away, I noticed I had perfectionism, OCD. I was like trying to control the art because it was actually really difficult. And so out of my frustration, I was like, I'm going to force myself to go so slow. And as I slowed down, I noticed my breath slowed down. And as I was slowing my breath, I began to feel something deeper in me. And I was like, oof, Amanda, why are you so mean to yourself? Why, why are you rushing this process? What are you running from? Where do you have to be? And I was like, oof, what am I running from? And to me, I now relate this moment of awareness to almost sitting in plant medicine ceremonies. And that's why I like to call this art plant medicine, because it is made from a plant. However, I believe henna, its tool is to help you become so present. And that's what she has taught me, to become so present, to connect to my subconscious and bring to the surface of the skin this conscious awareness of the present moment. And so I was able to see this fear, this distance inside of me that was trying to run. And I was able to face myself. And I believe that takes a lot of courage to get there. And I used henna as that tool, as the somatic tool. What is somatics? It's using all your senses. So
Mhm.
what's great about henna is its smell. It's
Mhm.
uh, the feeling itself is cooling sensation, and your breath. So as I'm slowing down, I'm connecting and creating um, active meditation through this
Mhm.
art to move energy.
Mhm.
And as I was moving energy, I wasn't doing it in a angry, painful way. I was slowing down and creating beauty
Mhm.
from the pain that I had within me. I was able to bring it to the surface. And through this process, the art was actually training me, the medicine was training me how to use uh, tools within inside myself to become, to bring healing
Mhm.
through memory, through active courage of what I really wanted to say inside of me, change my worldview, my perspective, the story that I was saying inside my own head. I had the opportunity in that moment to shift the the story and to say the opposite and to create beauty within
Mhm.
it. Okay. So around that time in my life, I had dealt with anxiety and panic attacks. And when I was finished with this art piece, I looked up and I had tears streaming down my face. And I was like, wow, something's missing. Something's different about me. I was like, oh, my anxiety's gone. I was like,
Wow.
whoa, this is powerful art. And so I remember looking at the pills that I would keep with me just in case. The doctors were like, in case you start to have a panic attack, take this. And I was like, I am going to put those aside and I'm going to use this art as a tool to to bring me to my presence. So anytime I start to feel anxious, I would take it out and I'd start adorning myself and allowing myself to be like, okay, Amanda, why do you feel this way? Where is this coming from? And then it took me through a series of reprogramming my mind and being more courageous. And I feel that it's those little things that we do in our life that affect the bigger things.
Mhm.
And so this is one story that really opened the door for me to be so much more courageous, to be in front of groups of people, to be a leader through my
Mhm.
expression. That led me to festivals, to throwing events that are conscious, mindful, alcohol free, giving platforms for other people to come into their highest self. And yeah, I feel that's just part of my story. Mhm.
And we're definitely gonna get deeper into it. As you were speaking about this, I remember, when was this? I think it was at Totality Festival, your festival,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to sit with you in one of these henna experiences. And I don't remember if that's when you told me the story of how you initially connected with henna. Um, but you were asking me, as you were about to do a piece on me, what I wanted to activate in myself. And I remember you guided me to visualize this version of me. And there were other details that I don't fully remember now, but I remember the feeling and your presence and how you were guiding me into this higher version of myself. And then you created this piece as kind of a talisman or amulet for me to embody that. And I remember it was right on my solar plexus, and it felt really cool. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to share that because as a receiver of that medicine, it was incredibly powerful.
Yeah. And what I have found that when I'm in a ceremony session with somebody that I love and I care about, it's like everything around us begins to disappear and we become
Mm-hmm.
so present with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's one of the best, most beautiful medicines because I'm asking you to fully express your God connection, like the most valuable moment of who you are to me. And I ask you to share memories with me. And I feel like I get to see you through God's eyes and how God
Mm-hmm.
sees you. And I feel like it's one of the most special experiences that I get to have because I'm getting channeled downloads at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
we're just in a field together. And then I create that sigil for you
Mm-hmm.
um, that you'll have on you for the next week or two. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe that when you see something 7 times over, like mathematically, scientifically, you begin to have awareness of it. And that's just facts. Like you start seeing something over and over on Instagram, you're like, maybe I do need to buy that. Gets me every time. But this is something on you. And through that story, through the reprogramming of remembering those memories, we're instilling it into that sigil, into that art. And um, you get to subconsciously, every time you see it, you're like, oh yeah, I am this. I am calling forth that higher
Mm-hmm.
self. And I know I have that within me and
Mm-hmm.
claiming it.
I love that. There are so many questions I want to ask you about all the points we've already touched, but there's one specific one that I find extremely cool. And maybe we can segue into that one since we're talking about henna. But I literally remember the smell of your henna, and I remember that you mix some special oils into it, and it's just such a beautiful medicine that I really really enjoy. And I remember you have a project, a nonprofit for cancer patients. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love this nonprofit. It took a lot of courage for me to step into this. And I remember at the time I was desiring actually to work with women or, young adults that dealt with anxiety and panic attacks like me. But that door didn't really open for me. But what had God led me to working with cancer survivors. And I heard about a salon that gave free services to cancer survivors. So I was like, I'm just going to show up and show them what I do. So I remember showing up and I was like, I'd like to bless these women. And so they let me take a seat. And I remember sitting with them and I was like, whoa, like it felt like all the walls were down for them because can you imagine being diagnosed and they're like, oh, hey, like you might only have this much time to live, or, you have a diagnosis that literally brings you into awareness of how fragile life and death is.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes something inside of you. And so when I began sitting with these women, I just realized how much deeper a lot of our connections would be. And um, I remember months later, they would come to me and be like, oh my gosh, it was so special in the moment. But afterwards, I remember waking up and the first thing I would do is become aware of my thoughts. And I would almost be upset about my body. Instead of cursing my body, I would love my body. I would say the opposite. And then when people saw me on the streets, they were like, instead of looking at me like, oh, I'm sick, they're like, oh, cool. What's that? What is on your skin?
Mm-hmm.
And um, if I go back into like, I started working on cancer survivors' heads was because at the salon, there was a girl that was younger than me that had to have her head shaved for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine that? Like, us women, our hair is like so much part of our beauty and even our eyebrows and our eyelashes. And a lot of times through chemo, your hair is gone everywhere on your body. And so you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the pieces is through this somatic art, I help you remember who you are, coming back and bringing it to the surface of the skin. And so I remember telling her, like, let me do a henna on your head. Like, you'll look like a queen. When else is this going to happen? Like, your hair will grow back. And she was like, okay, let's do it. And I remember doing this beautiful art piece on her. And she was from sadness to joy. Can you imagine, like, and seeing the family members seeing her in this state of like, whoa, what a transformation. Like, she's able to find beauty within herself, even amongst the pain that she was going through. And they're able to capture that with photos and video. And so I ended up back in 2017, I ended up doing over, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them, and did a big art piece that was displayed in my hometown. And I just knew at that moment, like, I have to turn this into a nonprofit because I had people at the time reaching out to me from across the country, around the world, saying, like, adorn my mom, like, adorn my sister, how beautiful this would be for them. And so I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I'm doing it. And I believe that when you begin walking in that courage and you keep taking those steps, like, magical things begin to happen. And God's like, yes, yes, yes. And within a couple months, I made the nonprofit and like was figuring it out as I go. And I feel like I'm still learning, it's such a big mission. But since then, I've crowned over probably 250 women and children from around the country.
Wow.
And yeah, we work with makeup artists, photographers, videographers. Actually, next week, I'm going to Palm Springs to do a henna crown and then going to the Bay Area. So it's starting to pick back up again. And it's been really special.
Wow. It's so beautiful to hear more in depth about what, like, the story of how it came to be. And I've seen some pictures and they look beautiful. And I can imagine that, I mean, I have no idea what it feels like to get a diagnosis like that, but I can imagine that it's a moment where people find a lot of courage and a reason to love themselves deeper. Because especially cancer, it's a part of your body that's kind of killing the rest. And so usually the emotional meanings behind that is what are parts of you that are at war within one another. So bringing that love and that compassion and maybe seeing ourselves with softer eyes, that's very, very powerful medicine in a moment like that. And what you said about hair being such a beauty thing for women, I know 100%. I think you were part of my life when I decided to shave my head, not out of a medical diagnosis, and I'm very grateful for that. But I can tell you that looking at yourself in the mirror without anything to hide under, it's such a big pattern interrupt. And then being able to see beauty in that is very, very beautiful medicine. So I think you're doing very powerful work, and I'm in awe of how you're carrying this mission. How long has it been?
I started the nonprofit officially in 2018. And yeah, it kind of took off from there. And yeah, am picking it back up since the car accident that I was in a couple of years ago. So I feel like it's starting to pick back up and training more artists from around the country. I'm going to put out another henna course. I do henna courses online. It's just like something special, and it's a
Mhm.
part of me that desires to create a legacy that will go beyond
Mhm.
me, even if I'm physically not here. Like something can
Mhm.
continue on, and I can continue to support people in different ways.
I love what you just mentioned as well, because even though I know that you like to travel and you're everywhere and you go to festivals and parties and bring your magic to those spaces, there's no possible way to multiply you in 1,000 Amandas and send you around the world. So being able to share this medicine and train other people in how they can do it too, to then support this mission, I think is incredibly powerful. Can you tell me more about how that works? Like, for example, if you train someone, is this someone that could potentially do a henna crown for the nonprofit later on? Like, let's say across the country?
I feel that you could be a great artist, right? But if you aren't um oh like trained in the somatic work, it could be really dangerous for someone
Mhm.
who's already at that fragile place of
Mhm.
life and death. And when you can be that source of groundedness for
Mhm.
somebody to reclaim where their authority comes from
Mhm.
and uh, empowering them to really shift the programming in their mind
Mhm.
and to regulate their nervous system. I believe that that is the number one thing to
Mhm.
have. The art is great, and the process of adorning someone is also really important to stay
Mhm.
grounded within yourself and to know how to communicate in a powerful way. I've already trained several artists, so I have a couple that are doing this, and I'd love to see more people because it's not just for them; it's also for
Mhm.
you as
Mhm.
an artist and becoming that channel and that vessel of love. Anyone could do it, you know?
And so when you teach the art of henna, you're also teaching the somatic space holding?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely. Hmm.
beautiful, beautiful.
And even outside of henna, if I'm, training people through just somatic work and their art and the creativity, if they
Mhm.
wanted to tap into doing henna and they don't know anything about, creating art, I, I, I teach them the basics.
Mhm.
And I believe that everything is absolutely possible. So you could be like, oh, I'm not a good artist. Like, oh, who's telling you that? Like you are telling it. So when you begin to shift your mindset and be like,
Mhm.
oh no, I am a good artist. It's just every breath I take, it becomes easier for me to
Mhm.
reclaim that and to be present with it. And maybe is forcing you to go even slower
Mhm.
with the art to feel. And
Mhm.
through the movement, you're able to move whatever blockages or anything that's holding you back from believing that you're an artist.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's so powerful to hear you speak in the way that you do and embody this mission of courage and carry all of the projects that you carry. And I'm saying that especially after this car accident that you mentioned, that I was close to you when that happened. And it was a shock for everyone around you. And you just being able to walk and carry life as you do and dance and be the incredible person you are is crazy, and it's a miracle. Can you share a bit of that story if you feel comfortable?
Yeah, absolutely. You were with me in Ibiza, Spain at the time. I remember leaving early in the morning, even though my intuition was like, don't leave. You guys are tired.
Mhm.
Maybe just sleep on the couch. I got in the back seat and a part of me wanted to just fall asleep on all the luggage. And then something in me was like, no, put your seatbelt on. So I was like, okay, I'll put my seatbelt on, but I won't use, the strap. I was like, I'm just going to take that off and lay down. something in me goes, Amanda, sit up straight, put your seatbelt on, correct. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I just put it on. I'm like, it's only a half-hour drive. I'll be fine. Well, that half-hour drive, wasn't, we were, the driver fell asleep at the wheel, and we were in a head-on car collision with another vehicle. And thank God I wore my seatbelt. Thank God I listened to my intuition, even though I wasn't fully listening to my intuition at the time because I knew that it wasn't safe for us to drive. And I ended up being stuck in that vehicle and was in and out of consciousness. So I don't remember too much, but from what I do remember, it was pretty traumatic. And I was in psychotrauma shock. So if you imagine, like, a squirrel falls out of a tree and then it just starts shaking because the spinal cord is probably broke, right? So that's what happened to me. My spine had broke. Thank God the seatbelt saved me. It cut me open. It broke my shoulder, actually, because I kept the strap on. Thank God. But I had a major brain injury as well. And the doctors at the time were like, we can't even get images of MRI. She's moving too much. So they had to put me into a coma. And they induced me in a coma. I was in a coma for several days. Weren't sure if I would make it through. And my dad flew over and had been there by my side. When I woke up from the coma, I was able to move my toes. So it took me a couple weeks for me to learn how to, get up and walk. And I lost my memory, actually. So I didn't even recognize my dad at the time.
What? Your dad?
Yeah. I ended up having short-term memory loss. And eventually after that, I was brought to Michigan to go to a rehab center. And I was there for several months, just relearning how to walk, how to use my brain. And yeah, I feel there's one really important part of all this, which is my time in a coma. Can I share this?
Please.
So while I was in a coma, I remember several things. Okay. So after I was in a coma, I was sitting with friends. They were like, hey, did you have any crazy dreams? I didn't know I was in a coma because I had short-term memory loss. But I was like, yeah, dude, I've had like a crazy dreams. I feel like I was in a place for a very long time. And they're like, we can imagine. And I was like, yeah, I saw this very blue, like heavenly color. And I was told three things. The first thing, I was told that we've been in an accident, that we would be safe. The pain would be temporary, just like the art of henna is temporary. I was told that my back was broken to help me build a new foundation inside of me. And then I was told that when I chose to wake up to practice what I preach, and I remember that last part, I didn't really get that part at the time, but I knew that was my mission, was to remember these tools, remember what did I preach? Choose love over fear, be courageous, speak life instead of death, don't complain. You can choose heaven or hell in each moment. And so as soon as, I'm still in the ICU, I'm like, okay, how can I regulate my nervous system? Let's come back to these tools. I remember asking for a henna cone.
Wow.
That was one of my tools, is just like instantly become present. And through the henna, through the somatic tools, your body begins to remember. So my body was remembering, even if my brain didn't remember. And yeah, that really, because of that moment and the download I got in a coma, was my trajectory of my healing path. It was like, okay, we're doing this. This pain is temporary. We're like, even in the moment, it felt like it was lasting forever. I began to become aware of my thoughts and speak life and transform those thoughts and say the opposite. And even if I wasn't feeling it, I began to listen to the pain, and instead of cursing it, I was like loving it. I was like, hey, pain, I feel you. I see you. You're there. Like, you can calm now. I'm here to hold you. And I could either be in hell in my mind through this process, or I could choose heaven and learn how to surrender and how to be patient and how to ask for support. Man, this was one of the biggest medicines in my life. I would never take back this car accident experience, even though I still feel the pain. Like, it still is in my body. That I have to continue to practice these tools to regulate my nervous system and to love my body and to listen and to move through it. And so, yeah, I mean, I can share what happened through all this if you want.
Please. This is,
Okay.
by the way, I've heard the story of the accident, but I don't think I heard the dreams, the crazy dreams. And as you were sharing, I just got crazy chills. Also hearing you speak about being in the car right before the accident, and like I can feel it in my body, and it's again such a miracle that you're here and that you're stronger than ever, that you can walk, that you can dance, that your body is healed. So
Yeah.
so yes, please. What
It took
else?
a lot of courage to get to where I'm at because I had chosen to courageously remove all the metal from my back and my shoulder. And that wasn't something that most people do or even hear of or talk about. But I remember laying in bed and meditating and listening to Joe Dispenza. And I heard that it was possible to remove the metal from my back, that I didn't have to claim the story that the doctors were telling me. Like, you're going to have this in your back forever. You're probably going to need more surgery because the metal's rubbing against the other bones and it's deteriorating the bone. So you're going to have to come in, and my back would be full of metal at some point. And I was like, no, I don't. That's not my story. I'm not going to claim that as my story. It's going to take a lot of courage for me to have to go back in and get this metal out, because who knows what's going to happen. I remember coming and sharing with the doctor, my spinal doctor. I was like, hey, I want to get this metal removed. And they're like, what? We don't do that. And I was like, yeah, you do. He's like, well, he's like, that's only if it's like an emergency or something isn't right. And I was like, well, I'm going to start doing a lot of research. So I went to a couple doctors. I got some x-rays, and I found out that the metal screws were actually going into my spinal canal. Thank God I did research. Thank God I was listening to my intuition, because if I would have kept this metal in, it would affect my brain even more, right? So I presented it to them, and they're like, okay, well, you're right. Like, you can get this out and you don't have to pay out of pocket because this is an emergency thing.
Wow.
So
Crazy.
But they said removing it could actually make the spinal fluid leak, and you could lose spinal fluid, which would could make you paralyzed, or, it could have more brain issues. And I was like, oh shit, like, this is really scary, but I'm not going to claim this. Like, I'm going to do my best to visualize the most highest experience and to surrender into it and being like, I'm claiming this and I'm trusting my body innately knows what to do. And man, that take practice, because it was scary. I'm not going to lie. And my mind sometimes would go certain places, and I would have to call upon some friends and be like, hey, lead me through this, help me, regulate my nervous system and visualize and claim what I desire. And so, and I knew that that making this choice wasn't just for me. I was choosing this because it was part of my mission, is to also to share with other people what is possible. And so I went through that surgery. They put 4 hours of saying, like, hey, it might take 4 hours. Within 20 minutes, they went to come see my parents. and they're like, oh no, something bad happened. And they're like, we opened her up. The metal wanted to come out. We easily took it out and sewed her up, and she's all set. She's in the waiting,
Wow.
you can go see her. And so that was just like such a miraculous moment to be handed the medal. And I was like, I want to keep this as my medal. I'm going to keep this. They're like, we don't let people keep it. And I was like, yeah, but I'm going to create art with this. This was in me and this saved my life. And they're like, okay, you can have it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
in that
I love
moment,
that.
I was like,
I love that you just made them break all the rules. Like,
mhm. Yeah, and everything is possible. Everything. Um, and don't claim someone else's story for yourself if you don't want to believe it. And um, at that moment, I decided that if I got the metal out of my back, I'm gonna get all the metal out of my body. So I was like, and the next thing is I'm gonna get the metal out of my shoulder. And I mean, it took time for me to heal and then go through that process as well. But I got all the metal out, and I decided to make an art piece out of it to show people that you can turn pain into beauty. And art is such a powerful method. It's such a powerful tool to reclaim, but also communicate with people because it's without words. You see an art piece and there's so much emotion and it brings you into your own memory and your own um, images and thoughts, right? And the story behind art is so much more than just one word. So, and one word can mean so much. So, I'm going to show you the art piece because I'm sure
yes,
you've seen it, but not everybody here listening.
yes, please.
And I have it on, but this is the art piece I made into a crown because I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own crown of courage. I'm not going through cancer, but you don't have to be going through cancer to feel like you're dying. And whatever pain that you've gone through in your life, you can
Wow.
reclaim and create beauty even amongst the pain. You can see the screws and
Wow.
yeah, and you just wear it. I don't always wear it, but once in a while I'll wear it and put it on and show people that you can continue wearing that crown even if it's not on your head. It's within your mind and your mindset and how you carry yourself.
Amanda, again, I've known you for a couple of years now, and I've seen you through this transformation. And I'm just in awe of the human that you are and the leader that you are, and how you are really practicing what you preach and how you're so embodied in your medicine. And it's such an honor to be part of that and to be part of your journey and to see you shine and to see you own your story. You're also writing a book. Like, I'm, again, biggest fan, and I would love to hear more about that if you want to share. How's the creative process of writing a book?
Wow, it's been really magical because I was actually invited to a book retreat this past year, and I was around other people who have written many books, and they taught me kind of different methods on how to share my heart and my mission through what's behind the story. And yeah, I feel that I am really close. I would like to have it published sooner than later. I actually was like, maybe in 6 months, but then through the program that I'm with you, some other girls were sharing ways that it can be sooner. So I was like, wow, we sometimes limit our mind and how we can actually make things easier and more simple. And so yeah, through this process, it's actually helped me to sit with myself because as I begin bringing memories up, more things become open for me in my mind because I had lost my memory, you know. But the more that you go deeper into the somatics and
Mhm.
the remembering, things open up to the surface. So
Mhm.
it's been medicine for me to hold myself through it and to remember like, oh yeah, like I've had tools in my life from years ago
Mhm.
that really made me who I am today. And so those little tiny pieces are great reminders to, yeah, inspire others and yourself.
So I saw this post a couple of years ago. It was talking about how we should interact with our partners. And like we so often take for granted who we think the other person is based on what we know about them, whether that's a couple months, a year, a couple years. But we do that with ourselves all the time. So the invitation that this author was giving was to see your partner as a new planet to discover every single day and to explore the other as a place that you've never been to with eyes of freshness and curiosity and discovery. And I can imagine that you're getting that experience with yourself. There's so much to explore when we spend time with ourselves in actual presence. And I think you're just such a beautiful example of that. And tell me, we haven't touched on this one, and it's something that I'm personally really curious about. So I went to one of your events, the festival in San Diego, if I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
And you have some experience creating these spaces and throwing these conscious events in Tulum. I know that in California. I don't know where else, but I would love to hear your experience with creating these spaces.
Yeah, babe. Oh my gosh. It started with Joshua Tree and totality. And I feel like I walked into something that I was like, oh, I don't know how to do any of this. But I instantly, like my intuition, I was like, oh, I know I can care for these people. And I know that I am really good at detail and organizing and this needs to happen and that needs to happen. And so I kind of just like walked myself into production and um, helping people because festivals can get crazy and there's
Mhm.
a lot of moving pieces and people and emotions. And when you know how to regulate your own nervous system, you can help ground the energy of everybody, right?
Mhm.
So person leading it is going to reflect everybody that's there
Mhm.
and their energy. Um, and I remember after that, um, I was invited to create retreats. And I'm like, oh, I've never done retreats. And, you know, in your mind, you start getting like anxious, like, oh, I don't know what to do. But
Mhm.
really, you do. You have all the skills within you. Remember the skills that you do have and begin
Mhm.
taking steps forward into something new. And I like to, in my book, actually, I like to use this analogy of being at the edge of a waterfall.
Mhm.
And you're standing at the edge of this waterfall and you're like, so much of you is like, oh, I want to jump. Like, wow, this is so exciting and scary at the same time. And yet you have that choice. You
Mhm.
can jump and trust your body and trust this experience and this thrill that you're going to be okay and experience something that that you're like, oh my gosh. Or you can you can be in fear and just like walk away from it. And then
Mhm.
you lose that whole experience of
Mhm.
something magical. And
Mhm.
so I like to come back to that reminder of taking that jump, taking that leap. And
Mhm.
then can you imagine you jump and you come above the water and you're like, oh my God, I survived. So that's the thing about what pushed me into starting these retreats and these festivals was, you know what? It's not even about me anymore. It's
Mhm.
about encouraging other people with the medicine that I have instilled within me. And these mindful practices and meditations as I'm going, I'm also learning and also
Mhm.
building that strength within myself as a leader. And so the more that I would do these retreats and these festivals time and time again, I became more courageous within myself. And I was able to witness and see the heart of God and other people. And I got to encourage other people to step on their platform and to share their gifts. Um, and it was like so fulfilling for me just to witness that, because I know what it feels like to be seen in those places, and to be able to give other people that opportunity is like such a gift for me.
Beautiful. I mean, you definitely have the track record and the experience, and I think it's so valuable to have someone that has that experience of knowing how to put the pieces in place, because especially for a festival, I think there's so many moving parts of talking to suppliers and venues and just how the whole thing is run, that it's so valuable to have that know-how and not try to do everything from scratch by yourself.
Yeah, and it's the spirit behind it too. So that encouragement of like, okay, this is how we do it, and this is how you can do it and stay grounded and in your highest joyful self as you're delegating other people. Because when you're in that spirit of joy and everything is possible, those people are going to be in their joy and that everything is possible, and trusting that they have these gifts, that they're around you for a reason, and just heightening that spirit so that it comes together magically.
Beautiful. I think that the way that you just explained it now, I really felt it. I had experiences when I was younger where I hosted things and it was just so stressful that I didn't enjoy myself. It felt like a task and it was like, ugh. So I can imagine that if you're hosting a party or you're hosting an event or a festival, keeping the groundedness of that spirit alive and having that be a cohesive thing within all your collaborators is so vital, so that you don't feel like you're just there to do the thing and not be able to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why I've been invited on with producers, just to be like a co-producer, is honestly, it's like because I'm that cheerleader for them. And I am really good at that communication piece of reminding them to be in that spirit and also bring that spirit to the center.
Beautiful. I love it. And I can totally see that. Amanda, I would love to know what's next for you. What are you calling in? What are you dreaming up, or what are you working towards in the next year to 3 years?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're asking this, because through your mentorship in the program, it's allowed me to expand myself as a coach and to step into that positioning of encouragement and empowering other people to get to that place of courage and to sharing their gifts with the world. And I feel like I naturally do this, and to step into owning it for myself has been really encouraging through your mentorship. And so I've already been starting that process and taking those courageous steps to be like, oh yeah, these are the offerings that I have. This is my value, and this is what I can share with the world through my own personal stories, my experiences, and that encouragement and support for other people and their product. So yeah, I am working on creating a 12-week mentorship course of working with other people, whether that be on their mission, or if they would like to work with some of the somatic courses that I teach with my henna art therapy. I already have courses up, but I'm going to be adding some courses for more people to be able to join, which will give them opportunities to do stuff with the nonprofit, which will continue going.
Beautiful. I'm super excited to see this new chapter come to life. And I know that there's a lot that's been moving in the last couple of months and everything that we've been creating together with the group. end, there's always an integration period. There's a lot of things
Mhm.
that start coming to life months after, sometimes years after. That's been at least my experience with mentorship and coaching. You do so much work within the containers, but there's even more work that happens as ripple effects in the integration. So I'm really excited to
Absolutely.
see.
Thank you. And I was going to share that I'm also getting on stages. So
Oh
I'm invited to
yeah.
San Diego to speak on a stage to share some of my story and
Wow.
yeah, calling in more podcasts and stuff. So
Yay, amazing. So Amanda, you've been an amazing guest and just such a delight to talk to. So I hope this opens many doors for stages and for other opportunities to share your stories and your wisdom with even more people. And I would love to ask, where can people find you if they want to work with you, if they want to be in deeper connection with you? What is the next best step?
the next best step is to connect with me, and possibly my Instagram is just Courage Codes. And that's my personal Instagram. And I have a business Instagram, Happy Henna Tattoo, and my nonprofit, Henna Crowns of Courage. But directly through my personal Instagram would be best. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone who stayed until the end and who chose to spend some time with us today. Um, I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked this, please share it, leave a comment, message me on Instagram. If you want to be on the podcast and be a guest and have this as a platform where you can also share your story, it would be my absolute honor. So make sure to reach out and I'll see you in the next one.